Hey folks, this is Ronnie from Turbocharged, and you're watching the Dethrone Record channel on YouTube. Check out all the content. It's metal as fuck. Hey man, well, right now I'm just at home enjoying the weekend off from work. And it's fucking raining outside, I think. So let's do the interview. Well, the pandemic, has it affected us as a band? Yes. Was it all bad? No. We got to do a lot of stuff that we probably wouldn't have taken the time to do otherwise. We were supposed to play a long cover set at Metal Magic Festival in Fredericia, Denmark. But then COVID-19 happened and we decided to record all the songs, 20 in all. Turned out good enough to be a question, what do we do now? So we actually made 17 videos in less than 2 months. On top of that, we made a 2-hour documentary to celebrate the 20th year as a band. Well, the last couple of weeks, we did get the latest strain of the virus within the band. So it fucked up our rehearsals for a while, but I'd say within the next week we're up and running again. So it's no big deal. Well, I don't listen that much to new music these days, right now, that is. I don't know why. I guess I'm happy with the old Motorhead songs and everything. And that doesn't mean that there's not good stuff coming out. I don't have the time to look into it these days. There are some bands that I know personally that are coming out with stuff, which of course I'm looking forward to, but no, I've been quite isolated lately. Do I have any new hobbies during the pandemic? Not really. The only difference is that since we didn't get to tour or anything or play outside Sweden, I could buy a lot of camera stuff. And also I built a new home. I moved into my own place a couple of years back, and I've been filling this place with furniture and shit like that. So I could build my life instead, if that's a hobby. I don't know. It should be the basics, but obviously I didn't take the time for it until the pandemic era. Well, the history of Gehennah is not really on my table anymore, because I did leave the band and they're still going on as a band. So I think this should be a question for them, since yeah, I left the band. I don't have a say in the matter anymore. But how did we meet? Well, me and Mr. Violence was hanging out in the same crowd back in the days. I quit the bass playing in Vomitory to focus on the vocals. I was starting to itch to play the bass guitar again, and we started talking. He didn't play an instrument, so he was looking for a vocal spot in a Venom cover band. Well, to start a Venom cover band, that is. And I wanted to play the bass in a Venom cover band, so we decided to look around for other musicians or, well, metalheads. We did some rehearsals with the wrong people. So everything was put on ice. But then in December 91, we were at the gig in Karlstad, the biggest town nearby. And we saw this band playing like Ramones stuff. And the singer had a Sepultura shirt, the Schizophrenia album shirt. So we started talking to him. Great gig, blah, blah, blah. And we asked him, do you listen to Venom? Yes. Do you play an instrument? Yeah, I have a guitar, but I suck at it. Yeah, but no problem. I suck at the bass, and he sucks at the vocals, so do you want to start a Venom cover band? Yes. Do we have a drummer? No. So we just grabbed the guy standing next to us and asked him, do you want to play the drums in our Venom cover band? Yes. Did you play drums before? Never touched them? Good. So that's how the band was formed in its first shape. And that was Captain Cannibal, Rob Stringburner, myself, and Mr. Violence. We usually say that the band was formed in February of 92, because that was the first rehearsal. We recorded the first demo, then we started getting more into a bit of more rock and roll, new wave of British heavy metal undertone, and we recorded the second demo. And we got a deal proposal from Primitive Art Records. And at the time, our original drummer, Captain Cannibal, was focusing on school. So we decided that he's not passionate about the band enough. So we asked a drummer friend of ours if he wanted to join us because we had a record deal. Previously, he had too many projects, as all the drummers have. But this time, he could fit us in. And that was Hellcop. So that was the lineup that continued until 2013, I think, when I quit the band. And the rest is probably history. First gig, I don't remember. I only know that I think it was the first gig when Mr. Violence was playing some intro on a tape recorder, and he put it up onto the microphone with some shitty dance music or something. I threw it on the floor, and I took an axe, smashed it, and then I kicked it straight onto the knee of a guy in the audience who could barely walk for some weeks. Yeah, the rest is a blur, basically. But as I said, if you want to know about the band, you should ask the band, not the previous members. The so-called Gehennah sound, what's that? It's distorted bass, screechy guitars, hammering drums, or really fucking rowdy vocals. The music is probably a hybrid of every band we ever listened to, from we were kids up until, well, we were still kids. We decided to do everything in a way that probably the other bands at the time wouldn't do. And our biggest concern was, would Venom have done like this? If yes, let's do it. If no, let's do it like Venom did. That's why we never had rhythm guitars in the solos or anything like that. When I look back on the at the riffs that I was contributing at the time. Like, were pretty fucking weird. I don't know how weird, but they're, I don't know. There's clearly someone who's not really up to date what riffs should be like, basically. And I guess a combination with that and everything else about the band made us something kind of love us or hate us, kind of. I don't know. It was basically Venom covers, but in a way where we couldn't figure out how to play Venom covers. So when we were sitting at the vinyl player trying to figure out how to play Venom covers, it sounded nothing like Venom, but they turned into riffs and turned into our own songs. And of course, deliberately stealing small bits and pieces of whatever shit you could come up with. Radio music even. Just turn it into a dirty fucking mess. And you have the Gehennah sound. I guess there's some Battery and some Celtic Frost. A lot of Sodom. A lot of Motorhead. A lot of Venom. Of course. We had this recipe where if the riff is brutal, put corny lyrics on it. If it's a really happy riff, just mash in as much violence and rudeness as possible. Then you have a sweet golden ratio at the end. The second and the third was released through Osmose. The first album was released from Primitive Art Records, a small, really small Swedish label. I don't know what to say about the Osmose years because we were a fucking mess. We had a lot of chances, but we somehow pissed all over them because we were in it for the fun, for the passion, not for the fame and glory. I'm not very surprised that they'll let us go when the contract was over. It was a 2-year contract for 2 albums with the option of renewal. 2 more years, 2 more albums, but we didn't generate enough money to be anything but a liability, I think, and I really don't blame them because we couldn't be trusted at all. It was all drinking and behaving like assholes. I think we were quite fun to hang around with, but if you invested money into us, big mistake. Now we're talking. Now we're up to date with my life as well. Turbocharged. The band started in March 2000, almost 22 years ago. Holy shit. We started as a 3-piece drunken plan with just me as the original member still. But the first lineup changes were just finding the shape of something new. We played some kind of punk, thrash, rock and roll stuff from the beginning. And then someone left the band and someone joined the band, and we replaced someone and someone returned to the band, and eventually we played basically some kind of St. Valentine's Day Massacre Motorhead Girls School EP style, because we had female vocals as well as my vocals, and it was everything, because we were so many different wills in the band, so we had to meet halfway for everyone, and we were 5 members, so it was a clusterfuck of genres, I guess. One guitarist left the band, then the female vocalist left the band, and it left us 3, me, Nick, and Freddie. And we decided to just see whatever songs we had that could be played on just one guitar and bass and drums. And I think it took a month, and we recorded the first demo, Branded Forever. And then it took another year maybe, and we recorded a second demo, which was the first one as a trio with that lineup. And that should have been around 2009, I think. The demo was called Arrogantus Metallus. That was the first breath of air showing what we would become. How we met? Well, it's the same as always. Metalheads meet at gigs. They keep in touch. They meet at another gig. And all of a sudden you have a band together. Small places. All the small villages you have to flip them upside down and shake out whatever worthy members you can find, and then you stick to them. Well, we were not forced together, and we were not forced to stick around. The right chemicals ended up in the same shit bucket and turned into a solid foundation of concrete and human feces. And that's where we are today. We recorded a lot of stuff that we don't want to talk about before we became this trio. I don't know when the first gig was with this constellation. Yeah, I do. But that one I don't want to talk about, because I got too drunk and we played like 2 songs. And Freddie almost pushed a refrigerator over the guitarist of the other band playing. So we almost crushed him, basically. And we were not friends at the end of the evening. So I had some band-aids to put on the wounds of the band, and we got back and started rehearsing again. And we're still a band. We just recorded our 6th album, which will be released later this summer, I hope. With the corona and everything, nothing is as it used to be. We're finished with the recording. The layout is almost done. I guess it's just the printing and promoting left. So we'll see. At the end of the summer, it's gonna be out, I hope. Above Lords, Below Earth. Yeah. It's already been 3 years. Fucking hell. I don't remember much about writing the album. But it was the first time that we took someone else as a sound engineer to record the drums, also the bass, I think, because we were finished earlier than expected. Good job, Freddie. So we also recorded the bass there. Then we moved everything over to our own studio, to my boys' room where I was living at the time. And we recorded everything else ourselves. And it turned out to be a huge step in production value. Also, the songwriting, I think, was pretty different. Same as always, but still a different touch, different punch, if you will. Well, I guess we just wrote the album, rehearsed it, recorded it. We did some test demos on 3 songs, I can recall. And we decided to record it at Decibel Hell Studio, right next door to our rehearsal place and studio. And it was a really good cooperation with Johan, the guy who's got the studio. I'm sad to say that it was a low financial point for the label we were on, so it still hasn't been released on vinyl. It's only out on CD, but hopefully we will release it perhaps shortly, who knows, on LP as well. It's a good album. Anti-religion, basically. The basic suggestion to think for yourself, pointing out everything that's stupid with organized religion. I'd like to see the first album, Anti-Christian, as a blueprint of how to crush a religion with ordinary household items, guerrilla style. But that's a bit optimistic, I think. Anti-religion, perversion, burning in hell, karma, all baked together in my certain black humorous way of pointing out the stupid things in life. Well, that's an easy answer, actually. It's when all the instruments are silent. We're actually quite a simple band. We've been playing for so long together that we're symbiotic. If I show up with a couple of riffs, I show them that this is my idea. And then Nick looks at it and he probably adds his guitar style into my way of playing the riff. I play it as I intended from the start, and Freddie's just pounding away on the drums, adding his special tweaks. Then we usually play verse, refrain, solo, verse, refrain. And if it ends up somewhere around 3 minutes, that's it. Sometimes it takes 1 minute 20 seconds, sometimes it takes almost 5 minutes to finish the songs. Well, the length of the songs. But usually if we have to mess around with a song too much, we tend to just put it on ice and we look at something else, and then we write a song in maybe 30 minutes, and then sometimes we tweak it along the way, and when we record it, it's done, because then we have it carved in stone, so to speak. And then we have to learn it. I think I have to start from the beginning on this one. After recording the first two demos, after becoming the trio again, we got this offer from a Polish label called Lyrical Records, who wanted to release those demos as a vinyl. He had a vinyl label, and he was planning to release it on 300 copies only. And since we had our own studio, we asked him, do you really want to release those demos, or are you interested in releasing our first album instead? So we can make an album and release. And he said, I don't care. I want to release Turbocharged. So if you want to make an album, go ahead. So we did, and that turned into Anti-Christian. We got an offer from Chaos Records in Mexico, who wanted to release the CD version, and he did. Then he also released the Christ Zero mini CD. We realized that the things wasn't working out because we were on the opposite sides of the globe, basically. So it was hard to keep the connection and everything, and we had some demands on, if you promise something, maybe you should do it. When we were on tour, we stopped by at a friends of ours place. I think that was towards the end of the tour. I think it was in 2014. And we started talking in the car after we stopped by in Germany. And we're heading towards Italy again, I think, where we started from. And so soon we'll be back home. What do we do? Maybe he could release us on his label? Ah, yeah, right. He has a label. So we asked him, and he said yes. So we released 3 albums at Go Fuck Yourself Productions. And it was a perfect label for a band like us because we like the DIY style, and everything was DIY. He became a father, so his priorities changed a bit, I think. I don't know if that's the main reason. Also, I know that people weren't buying the stuff in the same scale that they had to keep him floating with the label. We were not sure where things were going, and out of the blue, another friend of ours came asking us, would you be interested in signing a deal with a bigger label? Of course. More spreading of the material means more gigs, hopefully. We accepted, and we signed with the Emancipation Productions, Mighty Music, and that's where we are today. But the best time we had with a label was on Go Fuck Yourself so far, because it was a friend of ours. We had an open dialogue about everything, and we asked him before we signed this new contract, of course, because he's our friend. He simply said, what's best for the band is the best for everyone. So good luck, guys. Yeah, that's a huge difference. In the 90s, you had to go to a studio and pay someone to record you. These days, you can even record on a potato in your bedroom. So everyone has a studio these days, and it kind of suits our purpose, because then we don't have to rely on someone else to have the time to understand what we're doing. we're more in control of everything. So that's the major difference, because well, if you listen to some of the albums that came out in the 90s, it feels like the band in question went into the wrong studio, because it was a good studio, but maybe not for that special band. I can think of some, but I will be hung, drawn, and quartered if I say it out loud, since those albums are cult classics today. But I remember my disappointment at the time, because I really wanted to love the albums, but there was something, a huge threshold that I sometimes could stumble over. Sometimes I was just looking at it, no, it's too high. I'll move on, or go back listening to Ace of Spades again. So yeah, there's a big difference, because you have many more skilled studio technicians out there, at the same time as you have all these DIY studio. The bands record themselves, and maybe instead of paying someone, and you go in and record the album once and it turns out really professional, the band maybe records it like 3 times before they're happy with the result, because they forgot to turn a knob, or the batteries were dead in some DI box or whatever. Or maybe the vocalist and bass player was drinking beer and got too drunk and fucked up the compressor settings on the snare, so when he tried to mix everything, he had to call the other band members and say, listen, I fucked up. I'm not saying it happened, but it's possible. Well, the plans for now is that we have a possible tour together with some friends, but it all depends on vacation days and stuff from work. And we play a show in October in Denmark, and also the album is finished. Almost everything is finished. It's just layout issues, stuff like that. Corona did actually affect and delay everything there, because we had an artist that got sick, and we had to wait for the artwork to be finished. The band got sick, so we couldn't shoot a band photo. We ended up taking separate pictures on our phones, which will be in the final layout. The basic thing is that we're gonna release the album, which is by far the best album we've done. We always say that, but this time it's noticeable. I think everyone will agree once they hear the album. Then we'll see what happens, because we took a step up. Took a step upstairs to another league, maybe, because it's a bigger label with better promotion, more financials to promote, and more connections, perhaps. Or maybe we just went from decent sized, decent known underground band on small labels to the bottom of the food chain on a bigger label. We don't know. I think our plans will have to be called for 2023 maybe, because the album is not out, and it takes some time for for this shit to spread enough to make an impact and make plans. So we'll see. Favorite drink? It all depends. When I get home from work, I always put on a cup of coffee. That's a sacred ritual for me to really land at home. But what do I drink when I'm at home? I usually drink like soft drinks with pear or apple taste. It's kind of like a non-alcohol cider drink. I drink gallons of that. On festivals, usually it's beer, and Carlsberg is a boring favorite of mine because I'm not really a connoisseur when it comes to drinks. I'm not very fond of hard liquor anymore because I want to remember something from festivals and gigs and everything. But if there's White Russian or Bahama Mama or frilly drinks like that, maybe I'll have some of that as well. It all depends on the mood. Sometimes I stick to just Coke, the drink, not the Colombian kind. So it changes. All the drinks has different purpose, I think. Boring answer, but yeah, I don't like tequila. Almost puked in my mouth there. Well, thanks yourself. Thanks for showing us the interest. I'm sorry for the huge delay. I was supposed to answer this in the summer of 21, I think. And shit happened, and I forgot, and time passed, and yeah, well, here we are now. Remember the name Turbocharged because we're not going away. We're itching to actually write the next album before the recent one, the unreleased one, is out. So we're looking at old stuff right now, trying to figure out a decent set list for gigs. So we're ready if the restrictions and everything allows us to hit the road again. We're hoping to see the end of this fucking pandemic nightmare soon. Everyone who's watching this, everyone who's in front of the stage, is far more important than the band on stage or the band in front of the camera, because without you, we would be nothing. So yeah, thank you, and thank you.